7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 lines on the bottom. Reb Chia Barba, and it's all one line above the end of the Gilyon Hashas in the left-hand margin. See where the Gilyon Hashas ends, the left-hand margin? It's one line above that. Okay? So Reb Chia Barba asked the question. Tvua shaloka b'erev HaPesach. If Tvua, this is a theological question, which the Gemara doesn't give an answer, which just going to remain difficult. Tvua shaloka b'erev HaPesach. If grain goes bad, no, he doesn't have the place. You don't have the place. Are you in the right page? No, you're in Yuma. No, you're not in Rosh Hashanah. Yeah. Next Masechta. A couple more.
Probably goes by the whole sefer.
Before Sukkah. No, next. After Shkolim.
Oh, that's true.
Yes.
Probably goes by the whole Sukkah.
By what?
Probably doesn't go by the whole thing.
No. Okay, Reb Chia Barba asked, boy, if grain went bad on Erev Pesach, meaning the time for Tvua to be judged is on Pesach, right? So let's say grain went bad on Erev Pesach. So theologically, what's it connected to? From which judgment is it afflicted? If you're going to say it's from the year which is coming in, which starts on Pesach, it hasn't started yet. He was going to say it's from the year before. Looking with me. In the nafkas, hachein havas murcha koshata milke kadon. So long you took hachein so much havas murcha. There was an extended koshat the entire year milke kadon that it only got afflicted now. In other words, theologically, why couldn't God, if God determined that the grain could get afflicted, why did he wait till last possible moment to do it? Can't be from next year because next year didn't start yet. Can't be from last year because you had to wait till last moment. I don't understand the question. I really understand the question, but the Yerushalmi doesn't answer it. It leaves it difficult. Why does he wait till the last moment? Okay? Now the Gemara asks the same question. This about human beings, but
about human beings. So what happens if a human being is sick?
Yeah, but it's interesting. The Yerushalmi doesn't ask the same way about human beings. Elu shemeisim mi Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim, not the ones who die erev Rosh Hashanah. Yerushalmi asks about those who die between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Meizadine meisim, why they die? Ain't tamer mishata dalos. If you're going to say because of the year which just came in, akadun lo alos, it hasn't begun yet because the chasima is on Yom Kippur, right? So they haven't yet had a Gemara din. Intem Rishata the Nafkas, and if you're going to say it's from the year before, from the previous Yom Kippur, so Hachein have a Murchan Kol Shatami Mamas Kedon, God waited all this time in order to kill him now? Same question. But here the Gemara gives an answer already. Lo Shama, Lo Shmiya Dama Rabbi Kruspa B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan. Obviously, he had not heard that which Rabbi Kruspa said named Rabbi Yochanan. What did Kruspa say named Rabbi Yochanan? Shosh Pikasiyah saying. There are 3 books, right? Achad Shel Tzadikim Gemurim. One of complete Tzadikim is a famous Gemara. We have Rosh Hashanah Bavli too. One of complete Tzadikim. V'achad Shel Rishoyim Gemurim. One of complete Rishoyim. Achad Shel Beinim, and one of the in between guys. Zeshel Tzadikim Gemurim, the one for complete Tzadikim. Kvarnotlu Ifufsei Shochai, they already got their kvittel, their Gmar, the Gzar Din of life in Rosh Hashanah. Zeshel Rishoyim Gemurim, Kvarnotlu Ipupit Shaloem, they got their Gzar Din Shel Rosh Hashanah also. Shel Beinonim, the one of Beinonim, Kvarnitan Loem Aseret Smei Tshuva, they were given the Aseret Smei Tshuva, Shmer Shol Yom Kippurim. Also tshuva nichtovim tzadikim. If they do tshuva, they're written with tzadikim. Beim lav, and if not, nichtovim rishoyim. They're written together with the rishoyim. So now, the people therefore die between Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. Who are they? No. Beinonim have till Yom Kippur. Who dies between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? Rishoyim, right? Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that they're actual Rishonim, but the ones who were Gzar Din already, that this year their time is up. Okay? So, because the Gzar Din is actually on Rosh Hashanah, not on Yom Kippur for them. Okay? Okay, my time.
Well, for that matter, why wait until Yom Kippur? Why not slaughter him the day after Rosh Hashanah?
What?
This is between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Based on the Yerushalmi's Havamim, you're saying?
Right.
Well, we assume that mass wholesale slaughters don't sit with us very well. We diffuse it a little bit, but not till the end, not till the end of the year.
It's been my impression that there's a lot of people that are nifter around the time.
Between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
No,
Yeah.
not necessarily between, right before Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah.
Oh, right after Yom Kippur.
Until the end of Tishrei.
Maybe you're right. Wholesale slaughters. Okay. My time, and what's the fuss that teaches us this thing? Yimachu misefer, those should be eradicated from the book Elu Rishonim. That's it. Kick them out. Chaim, the sefer, it says sefer Chaim. What is Chaim? Elu tzadikim. They're in the book. V'im tzadikim ha'kosu who are not written in the book. Elu beinonim. They're not erased, but they're not yet written in. In other words, they got the 10 days. Rabbi Hanani Chavrein the Rabban. Rabbi Hanani, the friend of the rabbi's boy, he asked the question. Now this is an amazing theological question. He says, why does God need the 10 days? He knows on Rosh Hashanah whether the Beinonim are going to do tshuva or not, right? What?
I just said
He knows. So what does he have to wait for, right? The Or Sameach actually Or Sameach has a whole discussion of Yedin Bechira, the age-old question. The Rambam Hilchos Tshuva. God knows everything, so why is it not preordained? He actually brings down the Yerushalmi and discusses it at length. Because Yerushalmi's answer is, "V'lo Shmi Adam Rabbi Simon B'Shem Rabbi Shmuel Levi Asi Rabbi Chanina had not heard that Rabbi Simon's the name Rabbi Shmuel Levi. Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu danis Adam el b'shosh oimed bo." God only judges the person b'asher hu sham as he is at that moment. Even though God can know what will be, God does not take that into account. Right, like by Shmuel, right? My time was supposed by Shmuel. Al Tiri, very good. Do not be afraid. Kisham Elokim Akol Nar B'Shosham. God listened to Shmuel's cries as he was then. Famous Rashi there on the pasuk says that even though God knows that Shmuel's his children are eventually going to kill the Jews, now it's Shmuel that moment's a tzaddik, we keep him alive. Okay, so too, Hashem judges everybody on the spot by their status at that time. That's why even though he knows it's going to happen with the Beinonim, he doesn't take that into account. Hashem purposely ignores that which he knows. Okay? Says more, Rabbi Levi, Ksiv, it says, Lo yisyatzvu hololim laneged einecho. This is the same pasuk which he explains to indicate the same thing. It says, the whole... Oh, yes.
There is no such thing.
No, that's not necessarily true. See, I'm very fond of quoting, although I can't quote it here in full because we have to be brief, but a very fine quote. The Or HaChaim HaKadosh, when dealing, his answer on the Yediyah Bechir question is the best one I know. And his answer to the Yediyah Bechir question is that God, as part of the Tzimtzum, God acts vis-a-vis us as if he is only an Elokim and not an Avaya, which means he's only a God and not the transcendent, omnipotent, omniscient one. And that means that God, in fact, acts with us as if he's constrained by time, as if he's constrained by lacking foreknowledge, and as if he is not all-powerful, but rather has to be coaxed to do what's right by davening or by mitzvahs and so on and so forth. So God, in fact, can choose. Part of the principle which Tzimtzum tells us is this monumental chiddush that God can choose to act as he is constrained by time. The Or HaChaim. The Or HaChaim B'chumash. Towards the beginning of his Perush. So that's part of the Or HaChaim's concept of Tzimtzum, of God's restricting his all-powerfulness. And that's really what it says here. That's really what God is saying. God chose intentionally to limit himself because otherwise the world couldn't exist. That's part of Tzimtzum. God has to act with restraint. It's like the Rosh Limbaugh says, one half his brain tied behind his back, right? So, that's what you can say. Okay? So there's a pasuk which indicates the same thing. El Vafir also is not enough Havdoros. So it says here, Amravi Levi. It says Levi says, "Siv lo yisyatzu holim leneged einecha." The scoffers will not stand opposite you. Now, not stand means will not stand bedin. Yisyatzu in a lot of times means yisyatze bedin. So he says even scoffers, holim, are people who praise. Actually, it's not scoffers, but people who praise Rishonim. People who praise Rishonim. They're not Rishonim yet. They just praise Rishonim. They look up to Rishonim. But they're not judged, even though God knows eventually if you praise a Russia, what are you going to become yourself? They're a Russia. But not right now, you're not a Russia. Lo yisyatzu olim negedecha. Lama? Why? Because who do you hate? Only the people who actually are doing evil. Right? Again, because the principle of Asher Usham, you only judge negatively those who are actually involved in doing evil right now, not the people who eventually will be doing evil. Okay? So it's that dichotomy. And again, Dorish Rabbi Yisachar the Kfar Mandi, Rabbi Yisachar Kfar Mandi Darshan, Ki hu yodea meisei shov, he will, Hashem knows that eventually that the people are going to do go astray. I couldn't find the pasuk. It's not Eov Yudalad, so I'm not sure exactly how to translate it. But it means that Hashem knows with those who will die because of emptiness. V'yirav, and he's going to see that they're going to do sins eventually. But he's not going to consider it now. Again, because right now they're still free. Right, free of sin. So even they're going to die chayev, right now they're free. Amrei Yeshua ben Levi, im zach v'yosher ha'yisa en ksiv kan. In judging a person, doesn't say im zach v'yosher ha'yisa. If you are pure and straight, now if you are ha'yisa means you were pure and straight, I should say. En ksiv kan, which would mean that you were in essence pure and straight. El zach v'yosher atah, and the pasuk continues. Ki atah. Atah with an aleph, ki atah with an ayin. And it means if you're Zach v'Yosher right now, we'll let you off the hook. Even if you are, even if in the future you're not going to be a Zach v'Yosher, even if you're not really a Zach v'Yosher in the past either. But right now, when we caught you, in this sliver of time, you're alright? Okay, we'll let you go this time. It's an interesting thing, but Yerushalmi is not just on the future we don't take into account, but even the past we sometimes don't take into account. We enjoy that on Rosh HaShanah Yom Kippur too, right? Because Rosh HaShanah Yom Kippur, we're very holy, and God looks at us favorably because we're very holy, even though we were stinkers the past year, right? But nevertheless, right now, since you're doing okay, so we let you off the hook now. Rabbi Chia Bar said, why is this? Why is this? Why does God do this? So it's amazing the theology which you have here. Zarzir Masnaim. Now, Zarzir Masnaim is a very fleet-footed animal. I looked in the Judaic press translation. He brings down from, I forget, one of the Rishonim that it's a greyhound. The Zarzir Masnaim. It's a fleet-footed animal which races. So it says a greyhound. I know they had greyhounds in ancient Israel. But that's what it says. Zarzir Masnaim Otaish. Is God a greyhound or is he an old goat? Melech al kumimo. He's a king, and nobody will be able to come up against him. Al kum means al kum. Nobody will be able to come up against him. What does it mean? Customary in the world is everybody races, they compete, right? So this guy wants his greyhound to win the race. And this one guy wants his greyhound to win the race. Right? You bet on greyhounds in Florida. They bet on greyhounds, right? Whereas Florida, they bet on greyhounds, right?
Well, they have Salukis in the Middle East. So the Arabs have.
The Salukis are a kind of greyhound?
They're very fast. They're faster than greyhounds.
Okay, so maybe it's a Saluki. Okay? So I never heard of that strain before.
That's what SIU is?
What?
SIU, that's what their mascot is?
The Saluki?
Yeah,
Really?
SIU Salukis.
Really? That's true.
I never knew what it was.
I never knew what it was
What is
either.
SIU?
It's a
Suddenly, Carbondale.
It's a dog
Okay.
that tracks down animals. Hunts down animals.
What level of the NCAA do they play in? Must be very low.
Didn't he play for SIU?
Yeah, they're Division One. They're very. They're like the most 300th ranked team in the country.
All right.
They're not on the lowest. The lowest Najega, the highest Najega.
Turn out Walt Frazier.
All right.
You're going to hear this in England?
So this guy wants his ground to win the race. Zem tells his hero, and this guy wants his ground to win the race for Saluki, whatever it is. Avakosh Baruch Hu Einakim, God is not like that. Elamelech Al Kumimo, God is a king who doesn't have to compete with anybody. He's got all the time in the world. He's not pressured. He's not raised. Low boy. To talk about the day, nobody can want or nobody can accomplish rising up against him, right? So therefore, since that's the case, since the Kodesh Baruch Hu, since the Kodesh Baruch Hu has nobody to compete with, so he can bide his time. Kilo lenetzach yariv, not for all eternity will there be a strife. The way we dash it, lo lintzach yariv, God is not going to fight in order to be victorious. In other words, God doesn't have to fight with you. He's a human king. He has to compete with you like Rand's racing, like Saluki's racing. But he doesn't have to race. God will take his time. And he doesn't have to fight any wars. Eventually, you're ending up in his hands anyway. So he can safely judge you as you are right now. Rabbi Lezer said, now the way to read this next line, the way the Aruch reads it, and the Shari Torah Sered Yisrael and Rabbi Yosef Engel read it, it's a Greek line. It's Fara Basilius Onomus Ogrifus, and it translates as, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the Greek right, but it means that for a king, for a Basilius a king, Onomus, the laws are not Agrippus written, meaning kings don't have to abide by the laws of the country, right? They make the laws. They don't have to abide by the laws, right? So that's by a human king, right? But normally a king and the human king makes a decree. If he wants, he can fulfill it. If he wants, he doesn't fulfill it. Others keep it. God is not like that. Hashem makes a decree, and he keeps it first. My time, what Pasuk teaches us this, V'shamus mishmalti, keep my mishmeres, ani Hashem, because I am God, meaning, ani ushishamarti mitzvoseh shel Torah tchila, I kept the mitzvahs first. Meaning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu devised mitzvahs based on His wisdom, and His wisdom, of course, is something which is compelled by the very logic of divinity. Rabbi Simon said an example of this, which is tachlistic. It says, rise before the elderly and the wise, because I am God, meaning I stood before an old man first. Where do we see that? Where did God stand for an old man? Come on, have to be quicker on the draw. Where did God stand up for somebody? By Avram. Very good. By Avram Avinu. Beginning of Parshas Vayera, Hashem Nitzav Olav, right? Okay. Say, you guys ain't gonna win any Chidon Tanachs. Like me, you'll lose to the girls from Ramaz. All right. Say.
Told you I won.
What?
Told you I won.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
The one who entered.
So says the Gemara. Another. Oh, not yet. Rabbi Simon says, "Kimi goy gadol." Yeah, this is another famous Gemara. It's brought down. I think it's brought down the Bavli too. Amar Sibon, mi goy gadol shalochu ki mishpatim tzadikim. Who is a nation like this who has a chok and mishpat which is so righteous? Now, what does that refer to? First, Rosh HaShanah, when it says, chok l'Yisrael mishpat l'Elokei Yaakov, as we'll see later on. That refers to the day of judgment. But Rabbi Chama, Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Yoshia, Chadamar, one of them said, Ezo Uma Kumazos. Who's like this nation? Benoyek Shabbat, customary in the world, Adam Shiodeh Sheyesh Lodin, person knows he's going to court, Love Shchormi wears black. Misativ Shchormi wrapped himself in black. Magados Kono, and he grows his beard, becomes a chassid when he goes to court, right? Now, the thing is that the Achronim, they change the words of Kono, right? They change it to his hair. As you'll see why in a minute. Shani gets all tense because he doesn't know how his court case is going to come out. Absolutely okay, but Jews are not like that. They wear white. They wrap themselves white. And they trim their beards. So the Achronim changed it, of course, because Jews don't trim their beards. They change it to Megalchim Saram. They cut their hair, right? And they eat, and they drink, they rejoice. Because they know Kosh Baruch does the Nisim when it's down on Rosh Hashanah, that Hashem's going to save us. We're happy on Rosh Hashanah. The other one said, Oimer, that's one interpretation. And the other one said, L'mochar Adin, I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Who's a nation like this nation? Fascinating Gemara. But I don't remember this in the Bavli. Customary, if the king says, okay, today's judgment, and the bandits, the opposition says, no, tomorrow's the judgment. So let me show him it. Who do you listen to? Lola Shilton, don't you listen to the king, right? Kosh Baruch Hu ain't okay. Kosh Baruch Hu's not like that. Amr based on Yom Rosh Hashanah. He leaves it up to us. The basis says today's Rosh Hashanah because witnesses came today. Kosh Baruch Hu Emel Halachi Ashar. It's amazing Gemara. Shev says to the Malachim, Hamidu Bima, put out the docket. Right, that's what they're called in the court, the docket. Right, what's it called? Where the judge Yamdu Sanigorim, let the lawyers stand up. Yeah, the defending attorneys, Yam the Katikori, the prosecuting attorneys. Shalom Rabbeini Bernai Bnei Yom Rosh Hashanah. My kids said today Rosh Hashanah. Name the Beis Labra. Beis decides to make it a leap year, leap month. So Hashem says, okay, let's back up shop. We'll come back tomorrow. Haviru Bima, take away the docket. Yavu Senegorim, Yavu Kategorim, Nimluchu Banai, then my children change their mind. Labra Lamochar, to change it tomorrow. My time, what Pasuk teaches us this, Ki Choik Yisraelu Mishpad Le'Elokei Yaakov. Meaning, if the Jews have not made it today, Kivyachol, so to speak, Eino Mishpal Elokei Yaakov, then God can't make the judgment on that day. Amazing one. Similar is next thing, right? Rabbi Christopher Shem Biel said, L'shavar Elam Moadei Hashem. First, the Moadim were by God. Then he gave them over to us, Mikambech Asher Tikru Osam. Meaning that we set up the Moadim, which is what you're referring to. If you designate them, they're my Yom Tovim. If you love in a Moadim, if not, they're not my Yom Tovim. Now, there's one way of interpreting that, which is that if you designate them in Beistin. Another way of interpreting that is that if you make them a Mikro Kodesh, in other words, if you're a Mechabit Yom Tov, then the proper Yom Tovim. If you don't call them Yom Tovim, by making Mikro Kodesh, there's proper respect, so it's not a proper Yom Tov. Okay? I'm going to see Rabbi Simon. Rabbi Simon said, see if it says, Rabbi Sasisa, much you have done, Hato Hashem Elokai, you are God, my Lord, Niflo Secha, your wonders, Machshva Secha, your thoughts, Elenu are towards us. L'shava Rabbi Sasisa, once upon a time, you did a lot. Mikan Ve'elach, but after you, that's, in other words, that's when the Yom Tov were first initiated, they're based on wonders of God. But from here on in, once you gave us the Yom Tovim, your wonders and your thoughts are upon us, meaning you gave us the Yom Tovim for ourselves. Rabbi Levi said, it's an interesting thing. It's like a king who had a clock. Came and Sha'amad Beno, once the son stood up or grew up, Masra Lo. He gave it to him. So to God gave us the clock. What's the clock? To set up the calendar, and we determine when the Yom Tovim are, right? It's like a king who had a shomer, which means an outpost, not an outpost, an outlook. What's it called? An outpost where you look down on things, or as a watchtower. So he had a watchtower. Came Chava no Masalona. Once his son came up, he gave it to them. So too, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the capacity to perceive everything. Now here, the Korban says it's not just referring to Yom Tovim. It's referring to the Chochmah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem gave us a perspective on all of the Chochmah of Hashem by giving us the Torah, right? That's what He gave us, not just the power to set a clock, to set the calendar, but everything. It's like a king who had a signet ring, right? It says Chosama HaKadosh Baruch Hu Emes, right? So Hashem's signet ring is truth, and that's came Beno once the son became mature. Masalo gave it to him, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the truth, gave us Torah Emes for ourselves, and that's the signet ring now of Am Yisrael, that Am Yisrael is a nation of the Emes and a nation of Torah. It's like a carpenter. It says God used the Torah as the tool with which He created the world. So it's like a carpenter's tool. Came once his child became mature, Masalo gave it to his son. It's like a king who had treasures. Came on Shabbat, once his son became mature, Masalo gave it to him. It's like a doctor who had a bundle of medicines. Came on Shabbat, Masalo, so as the son became mature, gave it to him. So to the Torah is like a bundle of medicines for us. Read Eitz Chaim it's like our medicine. Okay, Rosh HaShanah, boy, only in front of Kivnei Moron. Rosh HaShanah, everybody passes in front of God, Kivnei Moron. What's Kivnei Moron? Rabbi Yachimar Kadein Dirin, like the animals which pass out of a pen for Meiser Behema. How do they pass? One by one, right? So count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Kadosh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So each person is judged independently. Rabban Amrei Kahada B'Magnimin. Whatever that word means, and I'm sure it's distorted. The Shnun is closer, brings down another word, Binumin. If we have Lieberman on this, he tells us what the original Greek is, but it's like a sharp cleft between two mountains through which one can only pass single file. And that's how God judges this. My time, what's the pasuk that teaches us this? Hayotzer yachad libam, that God creates together their hearts. He understands all their activities. Now this is difficult, because it sounds like we all come together, right? Right? Together He looks at their hearts. So I'm Rabbi Yosef said this is the way I interpret the pasuk. He who put their hearts together, already understood all their deeds individually. So God judges as a cloud, but only after having looked at us at our independent deeds, right? Rabbi Lezer said, B'nog Shalom, customary, man noach l'yotzer hazeh. He's also explained the pasuk. What's easier for artisan? Lasos mea kankanim, to make 100 vessels, or listakabam, or to look at them. Listakabam is not to look at them. Now, what does he mean by this? He means, look, obviously a craftsman could look at 100 vessels, but at first he's got to make them, right? So it means is that God first looks at everybody individually, so to speak, makes them, right? And then He looks at them all together. So Hayotzer, first He makes them, and then Yachad Libam, then He looks at them all together, and and gives them an overview as a totality. But first God looks at everybody independently, just like a craftsman, even though he wants to look at all the vessels together, he's first got to make them separately. Okay? Rabbi Rebecca, very beautiful Gemara. He says, what's the pshana? Yotzer Yachad Libam, Yotzra Notzeh. God wants Shelibon Yachidei love, that our heart should be unified and directed singularly towards Him. Okay, that's God's intent for us. Rabbi Avun said, Mishu Yachi B'Lamo. Another interpretation, somebody Yotzer Yachad Libam. He learns out God, who's the one creator of their hearts, Klarhaven and Kol Masem already understood everything they did. Okay. Ubechag Nidon Amayim. And Yad Sukkos were judged on water. Masnis Rabbi Kiva, Mishlak Rabbi Kiva, Manisul Chamayim Dvar Torah. Nisul Chamayim is the Raisa. And why would it be the Raisa? Because on Sukkos were judged on water. How so? B'Sheni, it says, what's the famous drasha? B'Sheni, on the second day of Sukkot, says V'niskehem. There's an extra mem there. B'Shishi, there's an extra yud there. B'shvi k'mishpatam, there's an extra mem there. Yud mem mayim. Mem yud mem, sorry. Mayim, it's water. So Amar Torah, the Torah says, Havi sorim bikurim Pesach. Bring the first crop, the korban omer bikurim of our barley and Pesach. Shetis baruch fanecha tvo, in order to bless the grain, because the mishpat on grain is on Pesach. Havi chitim bikurim batzeres. Bring the wheat for the korban shnei alechem, for the two breads and atzeres. Shetis baruch fanecha perisil, in order to bless the crops of the trees. You know, before the Chet of Adam Rishon, there's a chazal which says, so the tree from which he ate was a chita, tree, and grain used to grow on trees. Bread used to grow on trees. So therefore, that was it's alluded to in the korban we bring on Shavuos, when the din is on the trees, on the fruit. And more me'atov, and this is derived nisuch hamayim b'chag. Why do we do nisuch hamayim, libation of water on Sukkot? She's baruch v'nech hamayim, to bless the waters. Tanya Rishon Bar Yochai says, Aresha Yisrael Kshem Rosh HaShanah. This is a very famous Gemara also. If Am Yisrael was okay in Rosh HaShanah, they were decreed they should get a lot of rain. Ubasov Chotan, eventually they sinned. Livchos Meni Evshar, you can't take away the rain. Shekvar Nigzar Gzer, the decree is already rain. Malkush Baruch Hu, so what does God do? Mifas, and He scatters the rain like Yamim to the oceans, Midbaros and the deserts, Lunaros and the rivers, Kadesh Shalot and Artzmaram, in order that we shouldn't derive any benefit. Matam, what Pasuk teaches us is La'antir al Oretz, Lo East, to cause the rain to fall on lands where there's no people, Midbar and deserts, Lo Adambo, which there are no people as well. What about vice versa? The Jews were stinkers on Rosh Hashanah. There's a decree that should have very little rain. And then the tshuva, you cannot. The decree was already made. What does God do to them? He brings down the amount necessary for the land. He brings the dew and winds, in order for the land to get additional benefit from them, and in order for them to be effective. My time pasuk teaches us this: its furrows you will satiate with pleasure, its legions, birvivim, with the raindrops, timogagna will rejoice, simcha tevarach, you'll bless its vegetation. Okay, tzia gam chom, heat, a parchedness, lack of water, and heat, yigzlu meme sheleg, will steal the waters of the snow melts, sha'ol chatu, because in the depths they have sinned. Avonos she'os yisrael b'kayit, the Averis Jews do in the summer, gozlu meme sheleg, they steal from them the rainwater from the snow, right? Jews do a lot of Averis in the summer, right? So therefore they lose their rain. See, if it says, always the eyes of God are in Eretz Yisrael from the beginning of the year. Kahana Omar, without an aleph, Vad Achris Shana, till the end of the year. Madvala Berosha, if you act poor at the beginning of the year, meaning that you do proper tshuva, right? And you humiliate yourself, humble yourself in Rosh Hashanah. V'yoev lo achris tava, you get a good end, b'seifa, at the end of the year. Okay? New Mishnah. Halacha Dal. Al shisha chodashim ad shlosh shluchim yatzim. The shluchim would go out in 6 months a year to tell Am Yisrael when the Rosh Chodesh was. Al Nisan mibnei Pesach, Nisan because of Pesach, Val Av minei Taitz because of Tisha B'Av, Val Elo minei Rosh Hashanah, right? So you know when next month is. Val Tisha minei Takos Moados, so you know when the Yom Tovim were, right? Because obviously they're only going to find it after Yom Tov, but to know, to fix a calendar for the coming season when things are going to be. When the Beis Hamikdash existed, they also go out an ear because Minei Pesach Cotton, Pesach Sheni. Ask more V'Yetzu, what about Shavuos? No, Atzeres Chatuchi, Shavuos is always said, it's always 50 days after Pesach. Ashkech Samar, that's why it comes out. Pa'ami Chamisha, sometimes Shavuos on the 5th day of Sivan. Pa'ami Shisha, sometimes the 6th day of Sivan. Pa'ami Shiva, sometimes on the 7th day of Sivan. Shleimim, in both months, Nisan and Iyar have 30 days. Then it comes out on the Chamisha, it comes on the 5th day of Sivan. If considering if one is Moli and one is Chasa, one is 30 days, one is 29 days, as we have it comes on the 6th day of Sivan. Saying that they're both 29 days, comes out on the 7th day of Sivan. Now, ask them why they go on Tishrei Lok Fariyot Be'el, didn't they go out on El? Begin the Modod, this Shachar tells when Rosh Hashanah was. Nir goes crazy on this question. He says, what are you talking about? Of course you have to know. For Yom Kippur, right? For Sukkot. What kind of question is that? Why do they have to go out on Tishrei? Yes, they went out on El, but who says what day Rosh Hashanah was?
So when on Tishrei do they go out? On Gimel or Dalet Tishrei? They can't go out on the half Tishrei?
Gimel Tishrei. They went down Gimel Tishrei.
So those people...
Or our base Tishrei when there's still only one day Rosh Hashanah. So the Nir, he goes through various different possibilities. At the end, he leaves it difficult. But I think the pshat is that we know that Shluchim are not getting very far, right? So they have many less days to go. So what's the point? That's really what it's asking. In other words, they're not going to go 2 days Rosh Hashanah. They're not going to go Yom Kippur. They're not going to go, and so they're not going to get very far. So, if you're not going to get very far, what's the point of going through it?
It's like a chain reaction. They could tell one town, the next town.
Right. They could. And the next one bears you out. But the Gemara here doesn't give this answer, which I don't think that my way of understanding is much better than whatever the Nir proposed. But I don't know how to explain it.
Did the Maskilim mess it up when they tried?
Not the Maskilim. They were many years later. They weren't Stokim. Yeah, okay, that's later in the Masechta. Stokim, Maskilim, right? They're all the same. What's the difference?
Bad guys.
Bad guys, right? It's in order to notify people that the month, when the month was, and it seems like the answer is that okay, wherever they'll get to. In other words, Kashas, they're not going to get very far. The answer is wherever they'll get to. So I'm Rabbi Shimon Levi. Now the next one I'm going to teach you, like the Shari Torah Eretz Yisrael says, a really cool pshat. I don't think anybody else learns like this, but it's really cool what he says. I got to give him a lot of credit for this one. Sounds true too. I'm Yeshua ben Levi. Ana Ariv Le'elain. I'm a guarantor for those the Azli and Nimurin who go to get to Nimurin to lay schad minon mayis miozo. Nobody's going to die if they go there because of shluchim mitzvah. It's a very strange thing. What is he talking about? It's telling the shluchim that you should all go to Nimra, when he came to Nimrin was a dangerous place. He has to guarantee they're not going to die. So the Shari Torah says a beautiful pshat. He says, at the time of the Moroim, the Shluchim were very much inhibited. And that's why he says, the time of the Moroim, we already find in Syria they made 2 days. Syria is right outside Eretz Yisrael. They get there very quickly. But the governments, I don't know who was governing where, wouldn't let them get very far. The furthest they could go was Nimra, which is a city on the outskirts of Eretz Yisrael. So Rabbi Shimon Levi was telling the people in Bavel, he sent them a message, he's saying, not our shluchim, which we send out. Rather, if you guys send people to find out when the Rosh Chodesh is, I guarantee they're not going to die because of shluchei mitzvah. So he's trying to give them an incentive to come themselves and find out when Rosh Chodesh was set on those months after the shluchim from Eretz Yisrael could no longer go very far. So they're trying to give them an incentive to come themselves and find out. Okay? Tam on Choshen, what happened when they didn't find out? So it says that there in Bavel, there are people who says Choshesh, L'tzama Rabbat Sheyom, they fasted Yom Kippur, the great fast, 2 days in a row. Okay? Omar Chitz said, don't do that. Why do you put yourself into the sofek? Chazaka she'ein beis misatzibor. Basin is not lazy, meaning they always make Rosh Hashanah on the 30th day. They don't push it off a day, right? Elul is always 29 days. Maybe 1 year it won't be, so we'll go after Rov. But Basin always is diligent to try and make it on the 30th day. Okay, we rely on that. Why do we rely on that? Because they have a terrible mice. Which ones happened? Avud Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yitzchak, Chashal Garmei, he was machmir for himself. V'tzam train yomin, he fasted for 2 days. Afsa krucha, and his intestines fell apart. V'domach, and he died. So therefore, we should never fast for 2 days because it's sakoros nefashos. Okay. Shabbos. Now we're talking about the opposite. Eidim come to testify in court that they saw the new moon. For 2 months a year, they can be Machal Shabbos to come tell us that they saw the new moon. What are that? Which are those? Al Nisan, Val Tishrei. On those months, the reason why it's so important for Eidim to come quickly is because the assumption is, again, remember we just said that Beis Din has to make it on the proper day, right? So we want the Eidim to get there ASAP, right? So therefore we want, and on those days, those months, the emissaries will go out to the Golus to tell us that to tell us that the calendar was fixed for the coming year. And this is only after the Golus. Beis Hamikdash Kayam, when the Beis Hamikdash was extant, they could be Mechal Shabbos on all of them. Kedei Minei Takos Korban, in order to bring the Korban Rosh Chodesh on the proper time. That's part of bringing the Korban. Beit Shnir Balil, whether the moon is seen clearly, and you can assume other people will testify, or Beit Shalom Nir Balil, the moon was not seen clearly. Mechal Lov is a Shabbos and Mechal Shabbos. Rabbi Yossi Omer, no, in Nir Balil was seen clearly. Ein Mechal Lov Shabbos, not Mechal Shabbos. We assume other people who are nearby will come to the Sanhedrin Yerushalayim in order to tell them that they saw the new moon. There was a time when more than 40 sets of witnesses passed. Vikwan Rabbi Akiva, Balun Rabbi Akiva delayed them in Lud because he said 2 is enough. What do you need 40 for? Shulchan Gamliel said the message. I assume they were in Yavne. They said the message. If you impede them, many from coming, they'd say it's Machshin Losi Lovo, and they're going to cause a stumbling block because next time nobody will come. In Kamada Atomar, like Apostle, Kesef Tsar of Balil Loretz, you have refined silver, close, apparent to the land. In other words, well known. There was some merchants who had well known refined silver. Mizuko Shivasayim, 7 times purified. Ma'aser Shavi Yisrael Boim Zuk, with quoting the Mishnah, we had this case where 40 passed. Fikon Rabbi Kiv Lud, Rabbi Kiv and P them Lud. Mipnei Shein Mem Zuk. That's only because there were 40. Avnei Zuk Echad. If it was one set loya ma'akvo, he would not have caused him to lay. Shalchor Gamliel sent a message in Ma'akiv Atasa Rabbi. If you impede the masses, Nimtza is Mashir Lasi Lovo. So you're going to cause them to stumble. They're not going to come in the future. So it says more a different reason we gave in the Mishnah. Lo nimtza is ma'akiv es harami lasus dvar mitzvah. Not because we're afraid so much of Lasi Lovo, but also because you're impeding the masses and doing a mitzvah. I guess it's also that eventually you're going to impede them doing mitzvah. They're not going to come next time. Anybody who impedes the mass is going to do a mitzvah. Tzorch neither has to be put in chayrim. So they put Rabbi Akiva in chayrim. Says Ma'amar Rabbi Yehuda Nachdom Chas v'Sholom lo disnader Rabbi Akiva. It wasn't Rabbi Akiva. A Rosh Gader Hoya. It was some sort of government official. Gamliel sent the message, and they took him down from whatever position he had. Okay. What? Yeah, reached him. A father and son who saw the Rosh Chodesh, they should go. Of course, they can't join with each other because they're puzzled to join in a group. But rather, maybe one of the two of them will come at the apostle, and the second one will join with somebody else and become a witness, right? In case one of them turns out to be invalid witness. Shimon says the father and son and all the relatives, they can join together. You can actually have a father and son or be witnesses. Why? The Gemara will say. Rabbi Yossi argues, says Ma'aseh Tuvia is a doctor. He saw the Rosh Yerushalayim, who even though he and his kid, and his freed slave. So first they went to the Beit Din of Kohanim. So the Kohanim accepted Osav Esmano. Of course, Kohanim were very sensitive to Yichus, right? So they accepted him and his kid, Upasus Avdo, but they rejected the slave, because not some Yichus. Ukshabola Basin, when they came to the real Basin, Kiblu Osav Es Avdo. They accepted him and his slave, Upasus Beno, but rejected the kid. Why? Because they held the father and son, right? Tana Rebbe Shimon, what's logic, Rebbe Shimon, that you accept a father and son, or two brothers on Eretz Chodesh, Kitchilos, like this week's parsha when it begins. Who were the first witnesses on Rosh Chodesh? Moshe and Aaron, two brothers. Kibla Akonim Mosav Esmno Pasul Savdo Mishum Sul, because they thought the Eved was Pasul because he was an Eved. Shabbat basically Kibla Osav Esavdo Pasul Esmno Mishum Karo, because they it's not true. An Eved is, if he's released, no longer Pasul, but a kid is always related, so therefore they have to Pasul him. Elon Absolim, these are the people who are Pasul to for Eidos HaChodesh. Hamasachi Bekubia, a gambler, plays dice or all sorts of games of chance, goes to casinos. Vamalva Baribis, somebody who loans money for an interest. Umafrichi Yanim, somebody who races pigeons. V'sarashvi is people who deal in Shemitah fruit. Va'avodim, and slaves who are not yet freed. Okay? Zeh Klaus, general principle. Kol Eidur Sheina Eidur Ishak Sher Lo, any testimony which a woman is not kosher, Afhein Ksherim. What testimony is a woman kosher for? Two types.
Yeah, her husband was killed.
Her husband was killed, Aguna, and
And the Sota?
No, mikvah.
he's all Yisurin. All Yisurin, right? Any, Yeridea, right? Eidechonem Yisurin. Okay? So that all these people are believed as well. You can have a Mashgiach who's a gambler, but you can't have a aid who's in a monetary case who's a gambler.
This parallels one in Sanhedrin.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay. What's a gambler's Masach? He plays with pieces of wood. Okay, I guess they're like dice. I don't know. But Echo, we extend this. Echo Messiah, piece doesn't matter if it's a piece of wood.
That's the scene of the Ten Commandments. When the old Pharaoh
First sports, then movies.
rose.
Yeah.
He's playing like a game with his daughter. He throws his 3 wooden pieces onto the.
Oh, that's an
Oh,
old
Edward G.
Egyptian
Robinson?
game.
No.
No, it's an old Egyptian game. I can't remember the name of it. They're selling it.
But that's maybe what it's referring to.
Okay, could be. Echo Messiah, piece of scene. Echo Messiah, V'chlifa Yagozi. This afternoon, in my afternoon show, somebody gave me an article to read, and I think I lost it already, about this from basketball player and
Yes.
Tamir Goodman or something like that.
Tamir Goodman at TA in Baltimore.
T.A. Baltimore. Do you have the article still?
It's a little cutout. It's a little.
Something from ESPN News, he had it.
All right, so he's going to University of Maryland to play basketball. He's apparently that good. So the interview,
I don't know.
the interview with Rabbi Finkelstein. Well, anyway, he says this is unheard of. We haven't seen anything like this in 5,700 years.
Right. So this afternoon, they start asking me, Rabbi, what do you have to say about this? So here, after the afternoons, in the morning, in the evenings, I'm always getting bombarded with these kinds of things. All right, it's my Latin life.
Hanging out with the wrong people.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Zav Messiah Pisacine. Echad Messiah Pisacine doesn't matter if it's sticks or wood. Vech Messiah Plipe goes in somebody who's playing with nutshells. I don't know what kind of game you play with nutshells. Rimoni or pomegranate shells. Even worse.
Like those guys in the street in New York.
Yeah. 3-card Monty. All right. May Messiah Kavim. When you accept them back, Mishiva, Shishbor, when he breaks the wood. The woods which he's playing with, v'yavadek, he's checked to see if he did tshuva. V'yachsa b'chasar g'morning, he does complete repentance. Mava ribis, zeshem mava ribis, the usual. May Masai Makabi knows some when you accept him back. Mishiko shows, so when he rips apart his documents, v'yavadek, it's checked to have done complete tshuva. V'yachsa chazar g'mora. Marficha yoinim, zeshem mamra yoinim is somebody who bets on pigeons. The Korban says he makes the pigeons compete with each other, fights them. But it's either fights or bets on them.
It's only pigeons?
No. Doesn't eat any animal, chaya, oaf, of any sort, greyhounds, horses, anything. Maybe like when you send it back, when he breaks the sticks which they used to use to make the pigeons fly. V'yivdok, they used to beat him. V'yivdok is check, v'yachzor chazar gemura. Soicha shvis, zetagor shvis is the person who deals in shemitah fruit. Ezu soicha shvis, what's the person who deals in shemitah fruit? Interesting, look at this. So shuyoshiv b'bato kosh neshvo. The rest of the 6 years he doesn't do anything. Can't make that much money. But in shemitah, came shigir shvis, he's chumav shiyos yodav, he extends his hands, v'noite, he starts training with peirus avera, the forbidden fruit. Name aside carbon, so when you said the back, he has to wait a whole 7 years. For the next 7 years, he's supposed to lay this. He has to wait till next Shemitah v'yiva, they can be checked. V'yachzabo chazor gemura. Tanner Rabbi Yisrael Shnei Shvios, he's got to wait 14 years. Because he's got to prove himself over the course of 2 Shemitahs. Tanner Rabbi Nechemia. Chaziras mama, this tshuva? Tshuva you can't do. You have to cash tshuva. Not just verbal tshuva. Chazir's mama v'lo chazir's for him. Got to give back any money, not just give back, not just say, "Oh, I'm doing tshuva." And that's also by shemitah. V'yomar, you should say, for instance, "Holachem masayim zuz." If he made 200 zuz, he should say, "Here's 200 zuz, l'chakom la'niyim," and distribute to poor people. Ma'aseh niskarti v'ver saver, that which I made money from forbidden fruit.
So he's therefore saying you don't have to wait 14 years or even 7 years.
I don't think so. I think it says you have to wait and see he doesn't do it again. But besides that, you can't just say, no, next time I won't do it again. Whatever money he made this past time, he's got to give back. That's what I think he's saying. I'm not sure, but I think he's saying. Okay, let's see if I to add a couple of more psulim. Haroim, shepherds. Now, Sifas is the Rabbanon, obviously, right? Shepherds, the Chamsanim, and people who compel people to make sales to them, Gazlanim, and bandits. The Chol and anybody suspect on money, it does them till there is null and void. Amri Avol Bevad Broim Bein Madakos, only shepherds, not cattle people, not cowboys, because shepherds are notorious for having their sheep graze in fields which are not proper. Not camel drivers, no, because they generally go in deserts.
Nowadays there will be taxi drivers.
Okay, V'am Rav Chuna. I once heard, I never saw this inside, but I heard once many years ago that people who sell lulavim and esrayim are apostle edus for 3 months after Sukkot.
Really?
Yes, because of gouging the public. Now, I don't know if it's actually true. It might just be an apocryphal story, but this is what I once heard. I don't know why 3 months is enough. All right, my name had says go further. Vam Rav Huna said, who's the one who says that flying pigeons make the apostle edus? Rabbi Eliezer. It's Rabbi Eliezer. Now, I know it's our mission is Rabbi Eliezer, not Rabbana. The Tzina Talmud we learned over there, Shnayim b'shem Rabbi Eliezer, 2 things named Rabbi Eliezer. First of all, Yotzi Isha b'ir shazav, a woman can wear a certain piece of expensive jewelry on Shabbos, called the Ir Shazav. Shalim Shazav was a pendant which looked like Yerushalmi made of gold. That's not relevant to us. But the other thing says, Mafricha Yoinim Psuli Minedus. People who raise pigeons are apostle edus. Amrei Mona Kum Rabbi Yossi. So Mona asked for Rabbi Yossi. Kola He Sanhedrin Rabbi Eliezer. All those things enumerate Sanhedrin and here, of course. That apostle edus are all like Rabbi Eliezer, not like Rabbanan. Amrei said Divrei Koli. No, everybody agrees. Mao Divrei Koli. What does it mean Divrei Kol? Hacham Rabbi Yossi. This is what Rabbi Yossi said. Yoli Manu Shu Apostle Me Edus Mamon. We know that according to Rabbana, Rabbana also agree that all these people are apostle to testify monetary matters. Rabbana agree all these people, shady characters, apostle in this moment. Ma boloi, so what did Rabbi Eliezer testify? What is Rabbi Eliezer saying differently than everybody else? So says the Gemara, I'll tell you. Kishem shu apostle made this moment, kach apostle made this nefashos. Rabbi Eliezer is just like the apostle for monetary, the apostle even for the more stringent level of capital crimes. Rabbanan say even though these guys are suspect to lie in cases which have to do with money, but they're not suspect to lie in capital crimes. In such areas they're not suspect to lie. Okay? So says the Gemara, V'eidei nefashos, eidei achodesh ke'eidei nefashos tami. Eidei achodesh is like
Yeah, because if they make a mistake on that, then we're chayiv.
Sure, it's getting the flushes, but it's because it's part of the bedika, the chakiras.
Right, but then our mission is only going like Rabbi Lezer. That's the Nir says that. Gemara is saying Eidin Nefashos, Eidin Chosh like Eidin Nefashos, but then in our Mishnah, which says that they're puzzle, even though monetary, Mafricha Yoinim, right? We pass them even for Eidin Chodesh. That's why you're going like Rabbi Lezer, because like Rabbanan, they're not choshed on that, right? So that's why our mission is going like Rabbi Lezer, and that's what Rav Chuna said. Matar na Mafricha Yoinim Rabbi Lezer, right? So everybody agrees Mafricha Yoinim are puzzle for Eidus Mama. But our mission is talking about Eidus HaChodesh, which is like the Fashos. Because as you say, the Fashos issues can be conditioned on it. And that's going like Rabbi Lezer, because like Rabbanan, if it's Eidus HaChodesh like Eidus the Fashos, so since it's a more severe level of Eidus, we would believe the gamblers on that one. Okay? So says the Gemara, V'atani Zakla, wait a minute. Our mission cannot be like Rabbi Lezer. Why? Cute chap. I'm also going to learn this according to the Nir. By the way, I'd have to say the Nir is one of the major achronim on Yerushalmi. Somewhat difficult to understand, but till now I didn't have to look at him inside because Lieberman brought down all the important ones. But now I'm compelled to look at inside, and this is I don't know if you can buy it, but it's a very basic important. I photocopied the yeshiva's copy. I don't think it's with his name. His name was Reb Meir Marim. Mem Aleph Reshud Mem. I think near something with Yerushalmi. Something Yerushalmi. Known Yerushalmi. I don't know exactly what. Alright, so name and maybe Meir. Near. I don't know. I didn't look at the introduction. What? Yeah, Nir is a modern Israeli name, but that's not, I don't think it's relevant. Alright, in many events, so the Nir says a Kub Chab. Says our mission, the way he explains, Vatani Zekla Kol Edeshein Ishak Sherla, Av Hein Eng Sherem Law. Says in our mission, any testimony which a woman is not kosher for, they're not kosher for. That sounds like a testimony which a woman is kosher for, they are kosher for. It sounds like there's a testimony a woman's kosher for. What testimony is a woman kosher for? Aguna.
That's not real testimony.
Rabbi Lezer says it is. Let's say it is. Rabbi Lezer says she's not kosher for that. Rabbi Lezer and Yavamis, the Nir knew Yavamis. Remember Yavamis, and remember that a woman, according to Rabbi Lezer, is not good. She can't testify in matters of Aguna. So I am Mishnah's mashma that an Eved can testify in matters of Aguna because a woman can. But Rabbi Lezer holds away. Rabbi Lezer holds a woman's not good even for matters of Aguna. So on one hand, you want to say our mission is Rabbi Lezer because he apostles the gamblers even for Eidus HaChodesh, which is higher than monetary. On the other hand, our mission can't be like Rabbi Lezer because our mission sounds like for Agunos, women are kosher, women are not kosher for Agunos. So then one gives the old stock cop-out answer. Rabbanan Rabbi Lezer, I'm sorry. Matrisa Rabbanan, who's the author of our mission should be, or can't be Rabbanan, not Rabbi Lezer, yet it can't be. So this is Rabbanan Rabbi Lezer, Moidele Pligin Love. It's like the Bavli says that the Sham Sfirle Rabbi Lezer Bechada Pligile Bechada. The rabbis who composed our Mishnah, they're like Rabbi Lezer in one respect, that even for the more severe Eidus gamblers are puzzle. They are like Rabbi Lezer in another respect, that they hold that by Agunos, gamblers are okay just like women are okay. So it's a rabbi, the author of our Mishnah makes a pshara. In some matters he holds like Rabbi Lezer, in some matters he holds like Rabbanan. Rabbi Yemshim Rav Chuna said, Kulak Rabbi Lezer. The Mishnah Rabbi Lezer, even the Mishnah Sanhedrin is like Rabbi Lezer. You should know, Rabbanan are machshir gamblers even for monetary matters. Amazing concept. He says, even the Mishnah which apostles gamblers for monetary matters, which is the duplicate Mishnah to our one in Sanhedrin, that's also Rabbi Lezer. The Asian ilin plagvusa kilin plagvusa. And this machlokas is like the other machlokas. Tani eid zoimim. And eid zoimim, the line with this post b'chol Torah. The Rebbe Meir is can't trust him in anything. No matter what he lied about, you can't trust him in anything. Rabbi Yisrael said, "Emasai b'len that true. Is machnim to zoimim beidas nefashos." Only if they're found to be Zaymim in the most severe Eidus, which is the Nefashos, then he's possible for everything. Avanim sub Zaymim Eidus Mammon, but if he's found to be the apostle in Eidus Mammon, Mammon Nechshad, Mammon Nifsal. He's only suspect on money, and only in money is he apostle. Ba'asi the Rabbi Yossi Rabbanan, so Rabbi Yossi and Rabbanan hold the same thing, and therefore a gambler, is he chasher to steal? Does he lie for money? Does he ever lie for money? No, he just gambles. So why do you suspect him to lie? Rabbi Meir, who says that even an Eidzomim on money is suspect on Din Nefashos, that's Rabbi Lezer's Shita. And you'll tell me whose suspicion is under suspicion across the board. But Rabbanan Taka don't hold that way. So the Mishnah in Sanhedrin, according to Yerushalmi, which says that gamblers are apostolatus, even though we don't know they lie, that's only like Rabbi Eliezer. But like Rabbanan, as long as they haven't proved they lie for monetary matters, they remain kosher, despite the fact that they're low lives, and we don't like the way they make their living.
They're only saying in that Misachik B'Kupi are like stealers because they steal time. They could be working. They could be doing things.
That's Rabbi Yehuda there in Sanhedrin says Eino Mina Yushu, because they're not civilized. But it's not. We're saying that that's not Rabbanan. Rabbanan hold. Okay, their gamblers are low. It's impossible. You can't make them. Okay, everybody, so stop here for this evening.